My name's Sam and this is the Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining me for our second project in this week's part of the countdown to Christmas. So this is actually project 17, but it's the second project of this week. I've aimed to do 25 projects as of the 27th of October all the way through to the 1st of December. Each week we did a different stamp set, and this week's stamp set and dies are Snowy Delights. They come with beautiful dies and some wonderful stamped images. But today we are going to create the chocolate slider box. So basically this is just a wrapping for a beautiful bar of chocolate. Ideal gift to give somebody, idea in, I don't know, maybe a neighbour, some friends, a teacher, from one of your children or grandchildren. So let's do that. So the first thing we need to do is bring in our supplies, and it's quite simple really. I have a piece of shaded spruce. This measures 7 inches by 8.5. I have a piece of designer series paper. This measures 3 1/4 by 6 1/4. I have 20 inches of ribbon. I have a sentiment strip which is 2.5 by 4.5, and the matte layer which is 2 5/8 by 4 5/8. Lots of measurements. Don't worry, the measurements are all on my blog, so if you need those, just pop over and they will all be there for you. Right, so what else do I need? Yes, I have brought in the Merry Christmas stamp for the front of the box. I've also got the little snowflakes from the Snowy Delights and the shaded spruce. So the first thing I want to do is get the stamping out of the way. Put that there. So as I said, I'm going to stamp the Merry Christmas onto here. Because it is such a big stamp, I'm going to take my ink pad to the ink. I'm going to take my ink pad to the stamp. There we go. I think I've got it all on there. Right, I'm going to turn it over. Bring the paper with me. Turn it over. And let's get that down. So I'm going to lower it down as far down to the bottom as possible. Actually, no, I'm going to do it there. What I do is I want to make sure that I've got room for my snowflakes to go on. So there's my Merry Christmas. And I've got my little snowflakes. Yeah. And I'm just going to plonk them on, just to create a little bit of, there we go. Right, so that is all the stamping out of the way. Now we are going to do the scoring. So let's bring in our paper and my score tool. Oops. Here it is. Right, so on the 8.5 inch side, so that's 8.5 inches, I am going to score it at 3.5. There we go. 4 inches. 7.5 inches and 8 inches. Okay, so that's 3.5, 4, 7.5 and 8. I'm then going to turn it to the right, and I'm going to, so this is the 7 inch side, and I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch all the way down. There we go. Right, so that is all our scoring. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to burnish these burnish these score lines with a bone folder. Really having problems this week. We'll put those different teeth in, I think. That's that one. And that one. And then we've got these ones up here. Right, okay. So with our little scissors, the bottom right hand corner we don't need. So we're going to cut that off. Straight up there. And then we're going to cut straight across. Okay. Then we've now got left two little squares, one here on the right and one here in the middle. We're just going to cut up to either side, well, this one on one side, so it becomes like a little flap. And we're going to do the same on this one here. All the way. There we go. A little flap there and a little flap there. So this now becomes our box. See, it's quite clever. So this bit is our front. So if it's got the two score lines onto the right of it, this bit is your front piece. And it will go onto there like so. But before I do that, I want to create a hole for the ribbon. Now, for some reason, and I'm not sure why, my punch that I've got, there we go, is a little bit stiff. So that's one hole. I suggest that you use any punch that you've got available. This one is a 3/4 of an inch hole. So I've lined up this line with the first score line on the back. So that will give me the hole here for the back. So cut that like that. Wiggle it out. And as I say, I think my, come on, there we go. I think my punch just needs a little sharpening. It's very old, very, very old. Okay, so that's those two sorted. Now what we need to do is we now need to put our designer series paper on the top. So I'm going to use my multi-purpose. So remember, the front is the piece that has the two two score lines to the right of it. So I'm just going to put a line of glue just at the top, because obviously I don't want to put glue on this bit, all the way around 4 sides. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to pop that over the top like this. There. Okay, and then again I'm going to turn that over and punch out my hole. Come on. Let's see if I can do it on that side. Look at that. Seep straight through, no issues. Right, there we go. So we now have our 2 holes where the ribbon is going to come through. Now, let's also look. When we fold the box up, this flap here, so it's the flap that is underneath the designer series paper, not on the top of it, but on the bottom of it, we need to put our designer series paper. No, our designer series paper. Good grief, woman. Our tearing tape. So just go all the way along. Like that. Okay. Then this strip here, so the last strip on the right hand side, you are going to put on the tearing tape on the outside. So you could use, oops, not bunches. There we are. All the way across. Now that I've done this, I'm going to taper the edges, because what I wanted to do is make sure that the tearing tape went right up to the edge on the flap. Okay. So the thing to do now is bring our pointy tool. We're going to take that off, and then we are going to fold that down. Now this now needs to line up with our edging. For some reason I'm making a fist of this, and I don't really need to. So edge, line up with the side of that. Okay. And then what you can do is you can flatten it and then just burnish with the bone folder to make sure that it is sealed. Okay, so now the form is coming. So you're going to poke these two in and this flap at the back over. Then we're going to take our tear and tape and remove the backing. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that it all lines up. So this line needs to line up with this side, and then the same on this side. That way we just make sure that the box is not twisted, she says. There we go. Right, so the thing we need to do now is for our ribbon to go inside. So my suggestion is you pop your ribbon like on through there, okay, and then one through the other side. So it gives you, you've got that section here, and then you can put your chocolate in. But before you do that, I'm trying to hide these sides. So I'm going to take myself some clear sellotape, and I'm just going to push it over, and there we go. Hold that back down. I'll tell you what, it might be easier to do it this way. Let's try this way. Okay, so we're going to put it all the way along there, and that holds that bit in, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with that side. Okay, straight along. There we go. Now, this is the front, so we want the chocolate facing up. Pop the chocolate into the box, and then you just hold on to the ribbon and push the chocolate in. Okay, so it is in the box now. Just make sure it's all the way down. Make sure your ribbon is equally lengthed. If you're a bit, there we are, just tie your knot. Alright, then let it go back into your box, and you can just pull your knot down. Okay, so now you've got the sliding mechanism for in and out of the box. There we are. So the only thing we need to do now is to put our Merry Christmas on. So I'm going to layer that onto my piece of shaded spruce. Wriggle it around, and then I'm going to add a bit of dimension by putting dimensional in each corner and one in the middle. There we go. Take the backings off, and again another quick little gift to give to somebody. Right, so thank you ever so much for joining me today. Oh, my chocolate's just fallen out of that one. There we go, let's put that back in. There we go. So thank you ever so much for joining me today. I hope you liked those. We'll be back again tomorrow, so do join me then with another project. Take care.